Hi, good evening. Hope everyone is awesome. We're going to dive in just a minute or two. I'll wait till a few people jump on. Tonight, we're going to talk about expanding your comfort zone. I'm excited. Um, yeah, it's really time for this. We'll talk a little bit about the astrology right now and what that's doing for people, um, and about how you can allow yourself to connect with the awesomeness that's there and the potential that's there so that you can create some things that maybe you've been worried about or afraid of or a little unsure about in the past. Oh, Arleta, I'm dreading this. That's great. Perfect. You're in the right place. Yeah, that is definitely time to talk about this right now. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's the topics you want to avoid the most are the ones you definitely should hear. So that's great. um, yeah, cool. So hello everybody. Thanks for joining. Um, so yeah, March is going to be an interesting. Hey Claire, March is going to be an interesting month. We're already nearly halfway through it. Can y'all believe that? And this month is the time to really get some things in order, to get some things planned, and to get some things moving, because I think next month's going to be a big one. But I think if you take the steps now and create some healthy changes, and then you're going to be much better off next month, and it's going to be much more enjoyable and graceful. And I'm all about some grace. Hey Jill. Hey Marion. Yes, thank y'all for joining. Um, yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about comfort zone and what that looks like for some people. And I'm going to talk about why it's important to really expand beyond it and transcend it. So yeah, in terms of comfort zone, most people's comfort zone is pretty small. You'd be surprised at how small your comfort zone is sometimes, or in certain areas of your life. And this is the thing, you may find that in some areas of your life, your comfort zone is pretty big. There's some movement, some wiggle room there. You may find in some other areas it's pretty small. So we're going to, hey, Deborah, hey, Sheena. So we're going to do some work today on helping to expand that and doing it, having some fun with it. um, so yeah, so when I talk about comfort zone, your comfort zone is what you already know. So your comfort zone is what your subconscious will work hard to keep you in, because it knows it and it thinks it can predict it. And it knows that if you've done something once and it didn't kill you, then you might be okay. The problem is that if you stay in your comfort zone all the time, if you stay in what you already know, then you don't evolve, you don't change, you don't grow. You don't learn, you don't expand. You have the same Groundhog Day over and over again. Although saying that, he did a good job in that movie of making it different every day. So I like that. But yeah, it just becomes repetitive. You live the same day, the same life over and over again. Yeah, so I'm a big advocate. I talk a lot about comfort zone, not because I want people to feel uncomfortable all the time or afraid all the time or, you know, doing crazy stuff all the time. But there comes a time that you'll find periods of your life, or more than one or two periods of your life, or more than 1 or 2 weeks or months of the year, where you feel like it's time to stretch, like it's time to grow. And, as long as you're listening to your subconscious, you won't. You'll just do the same shit you've always done, going, I hate this. I hate that I'm doing this. It's not helping me in any way. I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, I'm alive and surviving, but I'm not actually getting what I want. I'm not creating the life I want. I don't have the relationships I want. I don't have the job I want. Whatever it is that you're wanting to create in your life, your comfort zone, well, you won't find it in your comfort zone. You just won't. Especially if there's a push within, or that inner intuition saying there's more. If you're feeling that urge or that desire or that, yeah, whatever that word is for you, to do more, to try something new, then you're not going to be satisfied doing the same stuff over and over again. You're just not. And we're not meant to. That's not, as human beings, we're humans. We've got a mortal body. We've got our fun little human stuff. But as spirit or soul or, whatever word you want to use for that, we're here to learn and grow. We're here to do new things. This world, this plane is the ultimate playground. We get to create here. We're these amazing creators. We build buildings. We make people. We plant trees. We design. We make art. Your whole life is a creation. It's design. And so, creating a life that's small and tiny, that doesn't change, your spirit is going to tell you to get going. It's not enough. It's not enough. Now, I'm not saying that every few years you have to destroy your life and radically run away, join the circus or anything, unless you feel called to do that. That might be a fun option, actually. But there needs to be some type of evolution. There needs to be some type of growth or learning in some area of your life, at least, so that you are, not feeling stagnant, not feeling stuck, not feeling like crap or bored. So does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about any of that so far? Yeah. So here's the thing with your comfort zone. Anytime you try something new, even if it's like a class, like you go to a choir for the first time or you take a dance class for the first time, there's going to be part of you that's nervous about it. There's going to be a part of you that gets triggered about it because it doesn't know what's going to happen. And it's telling you it might not be a good idea. So anytime you stretch beyond your existing comfort zone, there's going to be some fear triggered. There's going to be some doubt and some questioning and some worry. So that's normal and that's okay. That's your human stuff coming up. That does not mean you should not do it. Because again, every time you do something new, there's going to be some fear. And if you are listening to your fear, oh my Lord, I hate it for you. If you're listening to your fear, I bet you're suffering on some level. Your body will be safe, but I bet you're really suffering on a lot of other levels. For real. So for those of you that are suffering in your comfort zone, taking a nice deep breath and allow that to resolve. Oh, that already feels better. Oh, that's a really big shift. Some of y'all are ready to start moving. Yeah. So I've talked about this before in live, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. But what definitely comes in here is that understanding the difference between your intuition and fear. So fear is all the bullshit. Fear is all the lies you tell yourself. Fear is all the stuff that you don't understand. So like if I said, tonight, I'm going to fly to, I don't know, some tiny country that I've never been and I don't know anybody and I don't speak the language and whatever. Part of me will freak out and go, oh my God, there's all these things why you should not do that. So what your subconscious will do is it will build up that worst case scenario of how you're going to die. You're going to get lost and die and you're never going to be able to come home. That is just your fear speaking. It's just your fear speaking. When I went backpacking for the first time, so I'd only left the country once for a couple weeks. And I decided when I was 23, I was like, I'm going to spend 4.5 months in foreign countries that I don't know anybody. And I flew into Dublin. And, the first day I was really jet lagged and so I didn't do much. And I woke up that first morning of being in Dublin, my first day on this 4.5 month trip. And I went, oh shit, what have I done? And I had this moment of going, I don't know anybody here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. And I had really planned this out, so I was prepared. But that subconscious fear kicked in and went, you made a mistake here. And I kind of let my brain run for a few minutes. And then I had this kind of moment where I was like, do you know what? If it sucks, you just go back home. and that, just having that thought was enough to kind of calm me down to where I could get excited again and be ready for some adventure and meeting new people and all the things that I wanted to do. And that trip was the best thing I've ever done for myself. But if I'd listened to my fears or the fears of other people who told me I shouldn't go traveling that long, or I shouldn't be going on my own, or, all people's stuff, their comfort zone stuff, then I never would have done it. And my life would be totally different. And I think my life is great because of that trip. I've gained so much because of that trip. So listening to your fears are going to just make a mess for you. And really it's just the stuff that you don't understand because you haven't experienced it before. Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's unsafe. It doesn't mean it's going to hurt you. It's just fear. So when you are feeling into something, if you're wanting to make a decision to do something new, if you feel that fear come up, stop listening to that. Well, no, you can listen to it and say, thank you, no, thank you. And then you feel into your intuition. You feel into that inner knowing, that feeling that helps to guide you and what is really right for you. And if there's nervousness about going to a class for the first time, there's nervousness about meeting a person for the first time, there's nervousness about going to a new place, that's fine. What you get to do is that you get to do that and then celebrate the fact that you had courage. You faced your fears and you had some courage and you tried it. And no, not everything is going to work out perfectly, but now you know. And it didn't kill you. So, here's what I know about my life and most of the people that I speak to, if not everybody I speak to. Your life is exponentially improved by you expanding your comfort zone, by you challenging your comfort zone and saying, I'm going to go beyond it. The best things I've ever done in my life are always outside of my comfort zone. There's no real growth in your comfort zone. There's just stagnation. Yeah. And it's called a comfort zone, but that's shit because nobody's really comfortable in their comfort zone. They stay alive, but that's about it. It's not really that comfortable because you as a soul wants to do more than just sit on the couch and watch Netflix all the damn time, right? Yeah, so are there any questions about anything I've said so far? Anything anybody wants to ask? If you've got specific stuff going on in your own life that you want to share, then please do, because I'm sure it will relate. Somebody else in the group will have the same stuff going on or something similar. So, even if you're worrying about talking about you, somebody else will connect with it. Yeah. I think what I also know is that the people who are the happiest in their lives have the courage to face their fears. And it's not always the easy way, absolutely. Facing your fears is not the easy way, but it is the best opportunity for you to expand and grow. And it's the best opportunity for you to find what you actually want. I've got so many people who talk to me and they're like, I don't know what I want in my life. I'm like, what new things have you tried lately? They're like, nothing really. I'm like, well, that's your problem. That's the issue right now. Because people do the same thing over and over again. They don't meet new people. They don't try new things. And then they're like, I don't know what I like. I'm like, well, then you better go out and start trying some stuff. At the very minimum, take a class, take a painting class, join a choir, I don't know, dance, do something creative. I really believe that doing creative things helps people to find their path, find what they love. And I know that's an act of courage too, allowing yourself to express yourself, or, whether that's on your own or with other people, that's an act of courage too. But if you're feeling stagnant and stuck, then it's time for you to find something new to do, really. And we're going to talk in a minute in how far to push and stuff like that. Arlita, what's wrong with Netflix? I love some Netflix too, but everything in harmony. Bad. I see my comfort zone as a hamster wheel. That's such a good way to put it. I love that. So later, how about the energy of people dying in their past lives? Literally everyone died, so the fear of death is reasonable, right? Okay, so actually, if you understand death, you wouldn't be afraid of it. And if you can widen your perspective and have a higher perspective of death, it's that recognition that it's a door. It's another passageway. It's another, there's a continuation, because you don't die. Like the real you, that energetic spirit soul you, doesn't die. You just move on. So now I can understand if people had painful deaths, that pain might be scary for people. Or if people were scared of what was going to happen if they didn't understand what death was, or they were afraid of going into hell, or, there's all kinds of reasons why people may be afraid of death or dying. And please know, I'm not minimizing it at all, because I know that that's stuff that everyone goes through, and it's a very human thing. But I think if people really look beyond the fear to what it actually is, then they won't be so afraid of it. And the reality is that your subconscious will tell you every day that you're going to die. You certainly don't die every day. So just because your subconscious says it doesn't make it so. I had a period I think I've talked about this before. I had a period where, like, anytime I was at the top of some stairs, I saw myself falling down them. No, I don't fall down the stairs every time I do a set of them. Thank goodness. I live in a 2-story house. So just because you're afraid of it, or just because there's something there, does not mean that you're going to do it. Does not mean that you're going to do it. It could happen, sure. Anything's possible. But if you're listening to your fears, then it will tell you never drive a car, never leave your house, never turn on the stove, never turn on a light switch. Don't touch anything, because it might have germs that'll kill you. I mean, that's your subconscious stuff. I think we get good at kind of filtering some things out, but if there are ones that are sticking, that's the fears that are limiting you. Those are the fears that are holding you back. And those are the things that you should look at in terms of your own healing and growth, so that you can expand beyond your comfort zone. Your biggest fears are the things that you right now are ready to resolve. You want to hear that again? Your biggest fears are the ones that right now you're ready to resolve. They're screaming loud enough that part of you is like, yeah, let's get this sorted. So no matter how much anxiety or whatever you've got around that stuff, if it's screaming that loud, you're ready to heal it, honestly. Ashley, death is just a new beginning. So true. Oh, Oksana, I'm sorry, I can't read that. Oh, Lisa, recurring dreams of death. Yeah, so here's the thing. Especially with dreams, and even with the subconscious too, a lot of times that stuff is not literal. It's just not literal. It's a representation of something else. So for some people, they may have fear of dying, but it may be that they're afraid of part of their identity dying, or part of their life changing, or a relationship ending, or I don't know, some phase or period of their life being over. And, in terms of comfort zone and human identity, we really invest a lot in our identities. We really invest a lot in our labels and time and energy, and we act a certain way so that we fit the label, and we speak a certain way so that we're accepted within that label. So a lot of times it's, if you're going through change, people talk about dying or part of you dying. Well, that's kind of the whatever representation of that. It doesn't mean that part of you has to die for that to happen. You can just create some change. You can just allow that to end, or allow that to resolve. So if there's recurring dreams of death, it may be that there's some fears around death to resolve, but it might be looking at, okay, what in my life am I outgrowing? What aspect of my life needs to evolve with me, or I move on from? Because and again, a lot of times endings, people get freaked out because they think that, I don't know, a job or something is going to end. Well, it may just be that the dynamics within the relationship, or the dynamics within the job, or something like that needs to update as opposed to the whole thing finishing. So yes, at least it might be worth just kind of feeling into that yourself and seeing what comes up for you about, what aspect of yourself or your life feels like you're ready to move on from, as opposed to a literal death. Yeah. Oh, Arlita, I have a fear of dying when someone rings the doorbell. That's so interesting. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. Yeah, but again, that's how the subconscious works. It's not, it doesn't understand things in a logical, conscious way. It makes these funny connections that if you dig into that, there will be some other things there that have nothing to do with someone ringing a doorbell. But yeah, because obviously you've answered the door before and you haven't died, so you're probably going to be okay. Yeah. Cool. So let me know if there's any other questions about that. So let's talk about expanding your comfort zone and how to do that in a way that works for you. So there's a couple ways that people do this, and with greater success than others. So we're going to talk about kind of the gentle nudging expansion and the dynamic radical tear it all apart. So I've done both in my life. What I will say though is that one of the best things I think you can do in your life, especially if you're feeling stagnant or stuck, is radically disrupt your life. And I know that's going to trigger the shit out of a lot of people saying that. Radical disruption, and I don't mean destruction. There is a big difference between tearing your life apart and disrupting yourself enough to see other options and opportunities. There's a big difference between those two. And I think with radical disruption, what that does is it shakes things up enough for you to get a feel of something different. So I'll give you some examples of how people try to do this and how it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So for most people, if you slightly changed your diet, you slightly changed a few things and did just a little bit every day, that would be all you needed to do to be really healthy, to be really fit, to lose a couple pounds that you want to lose, whatever the motivation is. But what most people do is they're like, I'm going to go on a binge diet or I'm going to go on a massive detox that screws up so much. It causes so many issues. But it is because they can feel that there's a difference. It gives them an opportunity to feel that something is different. And it shakes them out of that mindset of, I'm just going to eat the same stuff every day, and kind of subtle differences not being enough for them. So listen, I think there's a time and a place for detoxes. We won't get into that. That's a whole other thing. But I think the more gentle you can be with a lot of that stuff, the easier it's going to be to sustain it. Because that's the thing. If you're doing radical stuff, then a lot of times that's not sustainable. If it's taking you too far out of a daily life that's actually sustainable, then that something too radical maybe isn't the way to do it. But sometimes a radical disruption just shakes you up enough so you can recognize that there's a potential for change and what that change could look like, even if you don't sustain it in the same way. So for myself, that trip, that traveling, that 4.5 months was a radical disruption for my life. I went traveling on my own for 4.5 months. And again, it was the best thing I ever did. What I will say though is I spent a year preparing for that trip. So it was a radical disruption, but it was something that was planned and thought through. And yeah. So obviously there was spontaneity and things that you can't plan for that happen. But I had been preparing myself for that disruption for a while. And so I think if you're starting to get into that mindset of, I'm ready for disruption in my life, I'm ready to be thinking differently or functioning differently or whatever differently, then now is the time to start to say, okay, well, what things can I start to put in place now? What things can I start to do? That some of that may be within your comfort zone. Some of it may be already starting to stretch it. Yeah. So I know with that trip, I never really saved money before. never really managed money that well before. So I definitely had to look at things with my finances. I had to change things within that. I changed the way I spent my time. I changed my focus towards working and saving money. So lots of little things changed in my life that gently started to expand my comfort zone and change the way I thought, so that when I had that trip, I was already kind of on my way there. And I think what happens for a lot of people is they get so fed up with things, they're just like, fuck it, I'm going to change everything now. And then they go into free fall and they freak out. And actually, a lot of times that radical change is exactly what they needed. But because they hadn't taken the time to work through it and feel into it and, get a sense of where it was going, and I'll talk about resistance with that too in just a second, then it triggers all their fears, it triggers all their stuff, and then they're left feeling like they're just all over the place crazy. What did I just say I was going to talk about? Oh, yeah. So something else that ties in with this a lot, I'm going to check questions in a minute, come back. Oh, yes. So sometimes people get to the point where there's got to be radical disruption in their life because they've been ignoring things along the way that they could be putting into place, foundations they could be creating, connections they could be creating, until it gets to the point where they've ignored and avoided, and then they get to a point where they're like, either the job ends or the relationship ends, or I don't know, whatever happens, that there has to be a radical change. And usually there's signs of that they've either ignored or just thought, oh, it'll work out, I hope. So again, it's this thing of, there are times where radical disruption, maybe it doesn't have to be that radical. It could be something that you work through, where you work and expand your comfort zone as you go. So if you feel like you're getting radically disrupted a lot and it's really shitty for you, then it's worth looking at, what are the things I'm ignoring all the time? What are the signs that I'm not paying attention to? What's the stuff that I'm avoiding doing that would make a difference for me? Cool. So if there's any questions about any of that, let me know. Sorry, Lita. Oh, that Giles talking. We all have fears. There's something in particular I imagine is actually fear of fear itself. Could be. This is why people can conquer fear of things, because they lose the fear. Yeah. So, and actually, I would change the language around conquering fear, because then you make a battle of it, and there's got to be a winner and a loser. So it's not that you fight fear. You don't have to fight fear. The reality is once you face your fears and when you really understand it, you're not afraid of it anymore. That's the whole thing about courage for me. Anyone who's doing healing work on themselves, who's, really looking at their own stuff, who's looking at ways they can improve their lives, improve the lives of the planet. These are people that are facing their fears, and that takes real courage. So I would say, again, it's not about conquering it or fighting it. It's because really, once you start to look at a fear, fears are untrue. They're your lack of understanding. They're untrue, and they will unravel when you really start to look at them. They'll just unravel. Because truth is neutral. Truth just is what it is. So if there's any attachment to something, like if you're looking at a situation and you feel really heavy, really afraid, really angry, that's your fears coming up. So that's what you can look at and go, okay, what is it in this situation that I'm not understanding? What is it that's going on here that I'm getting confused, or there's something from the past that's kind of clouding my perspective or my judgment? What is it that's there that's getting in the way of that? And loads of people are afraid of fear. You're right. People are afraid of being afraid because it feels so heavy. Your subconscious shouts really loud because it's trying to protect you, but from a load of stuff that's not even going to happen, really. So Jill, I had the same experience in backpacking. First day I thought, why am I doing this? I came home a different person. One of the best, so true. It was definitely one of the best experiences of my life. I'm so glad I did not listen to my comfort zone or anybody else's. Yeah, absolutely. So let's do a little bit of healing with this. If there's any questions or comments in the meantime, feel free to go ahead and add. So, can we give you the highest understanding and perspective of what it feels like to expand beyond your comfort zone and actually allow your comfort zone to expand too? To know that it's possible for your comfort zone to expand. Yeah, and to know that it's okay to challenge your comfort zone in the highest and best way. So if you'd like to have that healing, then receive it now. It's a big shift. Let's also give you the highest understanding and perspective of courage and what it feels like to have courage in your daily life, but without it being overwhelming or without feeling like it's going to cause a fight or a drama. And that you can have the courage to see and know the truth about every situation. So if you'd like to receive that, take a nice deep breath. Oh, allow that in now. Oh, y'all are gonna feel different after this. So here's the thing, and I think this is important to recognize too, is that the best things you've done in your life are probably outside of your comfort zone. I'm sure they are. So be proud of yourself because you've had the courage to do them or accomplish them or work towards them or whatever it was that you've done. That will have taken courage and that will have required you to expand beyond your comfort zone. I don't doubt it for a second. So the fact that you do it and you do it on a daily basis in more subtle ways shows that you can do it and be fine. It doesn't kill you. It doesn't hurt you. It may be uncomfortable in some ways, but it's not going to hurt you. So it's good to look back at the things that you've done in your life, the things you've accomplished, whether it's degree or a job or a project or the great relationships you have in your life. That requires you to get out of your comfort zone and speak to new people. No stranger danger. You got to go talk to people. That requires real courage. So be proud of those things and recognize the things that you already do outside of your comfort zone. When I was really shocked when I really started to look into my comfort zone and what I was comfortable with. I have to say, I think one thing I've been good at through my life is just pushing my comfort zone and saying on some level, I'm afraid of this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've been really good about doing that. And part of that is I also have the attitude of, well, I'll just go do it and I'll figure it out as I go. So for good or bad, whatever happens, that's kind of been my attitude through my life. And so I'll go try things and give it a go and see how it works. And if I don't like it or I suck at it, then that's okay. So I think it's kind of recognizing what gifts, what qualities you have within you that support you in expanding your comfort zone, support you in trying new things. So for some people, they naturally have courage. For some people, they naturally have a strong desire to have adventure and freedom in their lives. So if adventure and freedom are big things for you, I hope you're expanding your comfort zone right now. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable. What else? I mean, yeah, you may have a real desire to learn. You may have a real desire to travel and learn new languages or try new food or meet new people. All those things are really able to support you and you challenging that comfort zone and giving it a bit of a nudge. So it's worth kind of going in within you and looking at what you've done in the past and what qualities you had within you that helped you to do that. And again, it'll be a different mix for everybody. You may be surprised at some of the stuff that comes up, and some of those may have changed over the years. But I think ultimately, deep down, we keep those gifts that we have when we're younger. We still have them when we're older. We just don't always use them. Sometimes we get comfortable and then we don't use them. Yeah. So let's show you what it feels like to be able to really delve within and recognize your gifts, your strengths that support you in having courage and trying new things. And expanding beyond your comfort zone. So just allow yourself to feel into that. How are we feeling? Do I have anything they want to share? Ooh, Alita, I like that. I see it like expanding my imaginary territory, like in a board game. I can do something in my comfort zone or territory is bigger. Feels good not to expand more. So here's what I would say. If you're looking at things like territory, I would just challenge that wording just a little bit, because again, if it's a territory, then it's kind of, what are you trying to keep out? What are you trying to control? Yeah. So I would play with that wording, but I like the idea of it being like a board game and that you can play with it, and it's something that can be fun. You can have fun with it. Yeah, and definitely have fun with it. I would say, even once a week, if you say, I'm going to go to a new restaurant or a new coffee shop, or I'm going to invite this person that I met a few weeks ago out for a coffee. Yeah, then do something like that. I have a friend. Oh, Emma, I hope you're watching. Emma Sedlak. she's in Australia now, and probably asleep. I don't know. But one of my favorite things was that we were meeting with a group of people a few years ago, and I think, I can't remember if I introduced her to somebody or somehow they started chatting, and she just really everybody was getting up to leave, and she just turned to the girl and was like, I like you, let's be friends. Oh, that was the greatest thing ever. I was like, how simple was that? We make such a big deal about making new connections and meeting up with people, and she was just like, yeah, we get along, why don't we hang out some? It's like, oh yeah, we should do that more. So yeah, take that line, please, and go apply it in your life. Go meet some new people, invite them to be friends, hang out, have a coffee, have a pizza, have a movie, whatever. Yeah, because I think, again, we put all this pressure, and you get caught up in the anxiety and the fear. Am I going to be rejected? But again, if you go in it like a kid and you just have that kind of innocence and fun and lightness to it, then you can make those connections, and it's so much easier. I loved that. Oh, Jill missed a trip to Egypt recently, because if you know what, you can still have that opportunity though. If you miss this time, you can still get to Egypt. That's the good thing about life. There's always opportunities for more, definitely. Oh, Arlie was saying it meant to be feel good, not my subconscious took over. Yeah, isn't that funny how your subconscious does that sometimes? I find autocorrect is like my subconscious mind. Anytime it changes a word, I swear it reads my mind, because I'll be typing something and it puts the word that I really want to say, but I'm not saying. So yeah, sometimes those things happen. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, so let's do a little meditation and a last healing here. And again, if you got any questions, type away. So close your eyes and take in a couple of nice deep breaths. And just bring yourself into your center, so you just feel nice and present, nice and centered in your body. And I want you to imagine your comfort zone, whatever it looks like or feels like for you. And I want you to allow yourself to recognize all the areas of your life. So you've got your home, if you're working or studying, you've got friends, you've got family, if you travel, your hobbies, the ways you spend your time, the connections you're making, the people you're with. And I want you to imagine, just allow yourself to connect with how big or small your comfort zone is in your life. And again, it may be different for different areas. You may find it's really easy to make new friends, but it scares you to apply for a new job or something like that. To feel into that. And just witness for yourself what areas, either how big or small your comfort zone is, and if there's a difference in different areas. Just get a sense of what that looks like or feels like for you. As you feel into the edges of your comfort zone, I want you to ask, what are my fears that are keeping my comfort zone small? What are the fears, the worries, the concerns that are keeping my comfort zone small? And just see what comes up for you. Just take a moment and face those fears. Have a look at them. Even if it feels a little uncomfortable, that's okay. Really listen to those fears for a moment. Just acknowledge them, recognize what they are. And now I want you to ask yourself, not your fears, ask the true you, are those things actually true? Are those fears actually going to happen? Are they actually true? I can already feel the energy resolving. So as you realize that they're not true, feel those fears dissipate. Feel them unravel. They are not nearly as strong as you think, or as strong as you allow them to be. It's just fear. And fear is a lie. Why would you listen to lies? So just imagine what it would be like for your comfort zone to start to expand. And just imagine that if it did expand, what could change for you? What would be easier for you? What would you feel supported doing or experiencing? So yeah, just ask that question. If my comfort zone expanded, what could change for me in an awesome way? Just see what comes up for you. So again, as you're feeling into the awesomeness, feel your comfort zone expanding again. Feel yourself relaxing. Feel yourself feeling comfortable with doing some new things, trying some new approaches. Cool. So taking a couple more nice deep breaths. Open your eyes when you're ready. If anyone wants to share anything that came up for them, please do. Well, hi, Barbara. Oh, yeah, the energy already feels different for y'all. So again, that was just a really simple, like what, a minute or something? So I would encourage you to take some time. If you have a meditation practice, if you do it each day, great. Especially if you do it first thing in the morning, that's great. But whenever you do it, that's fine. But even if it's just 5 minutes in the morning where you just sit with yourself, tune into your body, see how you're feeling. Again, if you start to feel fears around the day coming up, if you're starting to feel anxiety or nervousness, start questioning, is this really true? Is this what's actually going to happen? Or is this just what like my imagination thinks might happen? Because again, we build stuff up in our heads that usually doesn't work out that way. Yeah, so I would encourage you to do this. If you're feeling like, especially if you're going to do something you've never done before, you're going to try something new. Again, sit with those, see what fears come up, and question whether it's actually real or just something that you think might happen. Possibly 1 in a million chance. Yeah. So if there's any last questions, please go ahead and get them in now. I'll stay on for another couple minutes. Usually the best questions come at the end. Next week I'm here at 5 o'clock again. Next week I'm going to talk about the nervous system. Your nervous system is how we perceive the world and how we perceive ourselves. And so many people's nervous systems are so stressed and frazzled and fried and worn out and exhausted that they're having a hard time really seeing and understanding the truth about the world or their lives or what's going on. So we're going to do some epic work on the nervous system and get you feeling lighter and clearer and less anxious, less stressed out. And I don't know what I'm doing the week after that. So if there's any requests, then you can send me a private message or you can comment here. If you're watching the replay and you want to ask anything, please do. Just tag me in it to make sure that I see it. And I'm happy to send some healing, and if there's any questions to answer those. Thank you, Cornelia. Yes, I think that's just about it for me. Oh, this month, so I've got an event. So I'm teaching World Relations the 20th through the 24th of March. And I know there's a few people who are considering coming who haven't quite booked on yet. So I'm going to tell you to get to class because it's going to be such an awesome class. I'm really excited about it. And then on the 27th, I'm going to be doing something new. It's going to be an initiation ceremony, really different from anything I've done, especially recently. And that's in Edinburgh. So there's information about both those on my website. Yeah, and I've got some new courses that I'm going to be announcing dates for. I'm just confirming venues for a few classes in Glasgow and Edinburgh over the next few months. Yeah, so I think that's it. Oh, let's see. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Arlita. Yes, nervous system's awesome. Oh, Lisa, I think we only got half a question there. Jill, oh yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you too. Thanks, Beth. So when you know it's time to pass through your fears, it's always time to pass through your fears or push through your fears. Always, always. If you're just listening to what your fears say, then you're making the wrong choices. You're making the wrong decisions. Any decisions made out of fear are not the healthy ones to make. So I would always challenge you to challenge your fears. I would always challenge you to go into your intuition and ask and get the truth of the situation. Because the best thing in your life, it might be the best thing in your life, and it might scare you. It could be the greatest thing that could happen to you, and you might be really afraid because it's going to create some changes in your life. Yeah, so I would say always question those fears. It's okay. Yeah, I got you, Lisa. It's okay. Oh, thank you too, Claire. And thank you, Deborah. Y'all are awesome. That was fun. Cool. Well, have an awesome, amazing, wonderful week. And yeah, any questions or anything, get back in touch. And I will see you next week. Thanks very much.